Hey, sorry guys. We're okay. Let's see. It's not starting YouTube yet. Let me just give me one moment.
Good morning, all. I'm Dwight Keene. I'm Chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission. I'm joined this morning by fellow Commissioners Susan Duffy and Commissioner Andrew French. At this time, I will call to order this meeting of the Kansas Corporation Commission on this Thursday, September 15th, 2022. Commissioners, the first matters for our consideration this morning are 24 items on the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the draft of the proposed orders in each one of these matters. So I would turn to each of you and ask if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And I'll begin first with Commissioner Duffy.
Good morning, everyone. I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner French.
Good morning. No questions. I move approval of the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We have two noticed items this morning, the first of which is docket number 19-KCPE-096-CPL. This is in the matter of the capital plan compliance docket for Kansas City Power and Light Company and Westar Energy, Inc., pursuant to the Commission's order in docket number 18-KCPE-095-MER. Before us this morning is an order on the capital investment plan, and our presenter is our General Counsel, Brian Fedotin. Good morning, Brian.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. On February 28th, Evergy filed annual updates of their capital investment plan. And on July 8th, both Commission staff filed a report and recommendation, and CURB filed comments on the capital investment plan. And before I get into the meat of the order, I want to note that the order finds that the 2022 capital investment plan filing does meet the requirements of the capital investment plan framework. However, staff expressed concerns by the increased capital expenditure projections in the capital investment plan from what was in the Sustainability Transformation Plan, or STP. The capital expenditures are estimated to be $1.215 billion higher in the capital investment plan than in the STP. Staff's report and recommendation suggested that Evergy considers slowing the pace of its increased transmission investment, favoring purchase power agreements for renewable energy projects instead of owning renewables themselves, requiring Evergy to file updated and comprehensive financial modeling to show how retail rate changes are impacted by continued increases in capital expenditures, and directing Evergy to explain the upward trend in its expenditures in a public workshop. Like staff, CURB restated its concerns with the rising level of expenditures in the face of low load growth, regional rate competitiveness, and ratepayer energy burden. The Commission shares both staff and CURB's concerns with the capital investment plan's dramatic increases in capital expenditure projections, and the Commission remains concerned with progress towards regionally competitive rates, and is particularly alarmed that the capital expenditure projections increased at a much larger rate than its regional peers. Thus, in this order, the Commission adopts staff's recommendation to require Evergy to appear in a public workshop to further explain the necessity and rate impact of these increased capital expenditures, and to file updated and comprehensive financial modeling to provide more transparency into its current expectations of retail rate changes that could result from its continued capital expenditure increases. In this order, the Commission directs Evergy to confer with staff, CURB, and the presiding officer by September 28th to propose a date for the workshop. And that workshop should take place before December 1st, 2022. In addition to explaining the necessity and impact of the proposed capital spending, Evergy should be prepared for a detailed discussion on staff's recommendations to slow the pace of its increased transmission investment and shift some of that planned investment towards distribution modernization projects, and also to strongly consider purchase power agreements for any additional renewable investments. Evergy should also file an updated and comprehensive financial modeling in advance of the workshop. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Brian. You covered a lot of ground there, and there is quite a bit encompassed within what is this order. Let's turn to my fellow commissioners and see if they have any questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll begin first with Commissioner Duffy.
Thank you, Chair King. I would just like to say that I look forward to the workshop and the discussion that will take place and the additional information that will be afforded the commissioners. I believe the magnitude of the dollars we're talking about and the difference in a short amount of time warrants this further discussion and sharing of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner French.
No questions. I move approval of the order as described by Mr. Pedotin.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the order in this docket. Is there any further discussion? I will add my comments. I don't mean to be terribly duplicative of what Brian has laid out, but I'd like to kind of phrase what I see ahead of us in terms of this order in my own words. With a little historical perspective here, in 2021, the Commission, Evergy, and public interveners engaged in an extensive 4-part series of work studies to review the implications and ratepayer impacts of Evergy's proposed capital investment plans. This 2021 process evaluated Evergy's Sustainability Transformation Plan, or its STP, as Brian indicated, and the Commission's order in that STP docket was directed toward comprehensively and periodically evaluating whether Evergy has regionally competitive rates and is providing reliable electric service. Evergy filed its 2022 annual capital investment plan in February, as Brian indicated. The KCC staff subsequently reviewed this Evergy 2022 capital investment plan and determined that Evergy's capital expenditures exceeded those anticipated in the 2021 STP docket by nearly 22%. In addition, the 2022 5-year capital investment plan was $1 billion higher than the 2021 5-year plan, and the 2021 5-year plan was approximately $1 billion higher than the 2020 5-year plan. In the order that's before us this morning, if adopted, the Commission indicates that it shares KCC staff concerns about Evergy's dramatic proposed capital expenditure increases. Furthermore, the Commission is concerned that if this trend continues, it could undermine the goal of achieving regionally competitive rates and reliable electric service, especially given the current backdrop of rising inflation throughout our economy. In sum, if adopted, this order will require Evergy to explain the $1.2 billion increase in the company's capital spending plan filed this year compared to projections when the company presented its sustainability transformation plan less than 1 year ago. Today's order also requires, as Brian indicated, that a public workshop be held to discuss this matter publicly, and that be done before December 1st of this year. During this workshop, which of course is going to be available through YouTube for the public to witness, Evergy will have the opportunity to explain the necessity and impact of its proposed capital spending plans and answer questions from commissioners, commission staff, and the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board. Also, as Brian indicated, and I think this deserves highlighting as well. Prior to this workshop, through this order, the commission is requiring that Evergy file updated and comprehensive financial modeling showing expected retail rate changes that could result from continued increases in capital expenditures. To me, at a minimum, this process that's contemplated by today's order is a follow through on the capital expenditure guidelines and ground rules and the oversight commitment the commission made to ratepayers in the commission's order in the STP docket. I intend to vote in favor of this order. That concludes my comments. Are there any further comments? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. The order is approved. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Commissioners.
The second noticed item this morning is docket number 22-GIMT-455-GIT. This is in the matter of the certification of compliance with section 254E of the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 and certification of appropriate use of Kansas Universal Service Fund support. Before us this morning is an order directing staff to submit letters to the FCC and the USAC regarding penalties for late filings. Our presenter is litigation counsel Michael Neely. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you. By October 1 of every year, the Federal Communications Commission requires states to certify that the telecom companies in their state receiving federal subsidy dollars are using those funds appropriately. If the states do not make such a certification, the carriers in their state will receive reduced federal funding. The immediate docket was open to review the amount of money the companies in our state received and how much they expended on the services the funds were intended to support. It was also open to review Kansas Universal Service Fund support at the same time to determine if the commission should consider any audits of the carriers receiving state support. The order before you explains that all affected companies filed their information and that based on staff's internal analysis, it would certify that all the companies to the FCC and not recommend any KUSF audits at this time. However, staff did note that because some of the federal programs support broadband and voice, it will be reviewing allocations of those revenues in the future because the KUSF statutorily only supports voice at this time. Staff also recommended penalties for 6 companies that are noted in the order due to late filings. And staff's report and recommendation is attached to the order and contains many specific details about each company that was reviewed. The order before you adopts staff's findings and recommendations. And with that, I would recommend approval of the order and stand for questions.
Thank you, Michael. Let's see if there are any questions. I'll turn first to Commissioner French.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Duffy.
It is a rather detailed order and a very comprehensive and detailed R&R from staff. Worthy to go through. This area of our responsibility is still front burner items, and we must pay due diligence to the responsibilities that are still left with the commission. And I appreciate staff's efforts in this regard and the detailed work that they go through with the number of companies that they still work with. And it's a credit to their diligence to get this completed on time every year. So with that, I move approval of the order.
Second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the order in this docket. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. The order is approved. Thank you, Michael. Commissioners, I believe that concludes all that was anticipated on the today's agenda. Unless you have anything further you would care to bring before this meeting of the commission, I would entertain a motion and we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're adjourned. Be
Thank you.
safe.